against Ron, let me do it.
I don't know. I guess it's not. Will the city council special call meeting please come to order? Item 2 is our invocation. If you will, please stand and Billy Blake will lead us in invocation.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity we have to be here this evening. We ask that you allow us to make good decisions about the business of the city. Allow us to do things with you and the goodness of the people of this town in mind. Let us represent them well and think about what's best for the city at all times. We just ask that you continue to bless the ones that are working for the city, continue to provide protection to them, guidance to all they do. We ask you to watch after each and every one of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Councilman, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. Are there any citizens' communications for tonight? Then we will go to item 5, which is a public hearing. This is a public hearing to hear comments for or against the City of Van Alstyne tax rate, an announcement of date, time, and place of the meeting to vote on the tax rate. Are there any comments that are to be made regarding this?
He shook his head over there and said no.
Second call. Any comments regarding this public hearing? Third and final call on the tax rate for the City of Van Alstyne. Let's see. This will be this agenda item. It requires the announcement of the date, time, and place of the meeting where the council is to vote on the tax rate. The meeting to vote on the tax rate shall be Monday, September the 23rd, 2013 at 6:30 p.m. at the Van Alstyne Community Center, which is located at 262 North Preston Avenue. Thank you. I declare this public hearing closed. Now we will go into an open meeting, and that is item number 6, consider and take any action necessary regarding authorizing the mayor to sign a resolution to pursue funding through the Texas Water Development Board WIF program. Are there any comments that would be that you would like to make at this time?
Mayor, Council, reason this is on this agenda, received a call from Jerry Chapman last week talking about Tarrant Water District turning back $2.3 million in funds for drinking water, low interest loan, narrow window of opportunity, and the only other town that Jerry's aware of that's going to go after it is Cleburne, which is currently under a WIF. He said the closing date is mid-November, November 29th. So we would need to, if we were going to move on this, we would need to act fast. When I say it's a low rate, for the first 4 years, it's 0%. First 6 years, it's 0% interest. And then it moves up to 1%. And Jerry has more of the details. He was excited to talk to me about it. And we have some projects that we can work on that'll actually benefit us.
Thank you, Frank, Mayor, members of the council. For the record, my name is Jerry Chapman, from the Residential Utility Authority. And expiring. They didn't officially decide until this morning that they were going to open the window, and they did. And as Frank indicated, I know of only one other community that might be seeking these funds, City of Cleveland. It is a very attractive interest rate. The state legislature a few years ago enacted legislation to create a fund water infrastructure in Texas, and they subsidized the interest rate. When they did it the first time, they subsidized it by 2%. This next time, if the voters approve in November, Proposition 6 or something about, it'll be subsidized again, but only 1%. So it's unlikely we'll see these interest rates anytime soon. I handed you a sheet that shows there's no interest on the loans until 2019, where you have that'd be the first year any interest will be accruing, and that'd be at 0.09%. And it increases on out through the term of the amortization to a little over 2.05% at the output. In order to use this, it has to be a project that's identified in the Region C water plan and the state water plan. I've served as your representative on that body for the past 15 years, and it is in the plan to augment your supply here with surface water, so you could use this to integrate the surface water that you have in the Collin Grayson Fund, Collin Grayson project into your system. Said that the time period on this is very short. Apologize to you for that. Your consulting engineers identified some uses of these funds. Last sheet I passed out to you there, the colored sheet shows you what's happening with municipal bond rates. While your savings account, my savings account is still at 0.002% or something like that. Interest rates on municipal securities have begun to increase. That colored chart here shows you last year and this year. Considerable difference, about 165 basis points, over a percent and a half difference. So, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would suggest to you that we're probably not likely to see interest rates this low in most of our lifetimes. If you decide you wanted to do this, we need to know, get busy very quickly. You have to have an application in by the end of the month, and Board of Board can act upon it at their meeting in October, and be very close in December. That's it in a nutshell. Like I said, I ordinarily wouldn't bring something to you this compressed time frame, but the interest rates were very good. Thought you deserve to look at it. Can't promise you that if you said go, that we get it, because Cleveland potential, they have participated in this in the past. We've been very fortunate. We got about $30 million out of the fund over the past couple of years. Got a $7.5 million project we're doing in Gainesville on their water treatment plant transmission lines, and brought the storage in Texoma, all the main storage in Texoma, with the other portion of about $2 million very attractive. So we got a good experience with it, and that's the reason we got Board called us and asked us if we wanted to participate again. So I looked around possibilities. I called Van Alstyne, called Frank. He suggested we put some information together and come to the meeting tonight. So I have, and I'll try to answer the questions you might have. And wait.
Thank you. Councilman Russell, do you have any questions regarding this?
So this is going after the full amount, the 2.3?
Yes, sir. We could go after the full amount, or we could do something less than that.
Is there, if we applied and Cleveland has applied, are they making a judgment only one gets money, or do they split it, or?
They will grade or evaluate the application. There's a scoring process that they use. I can't tell you if Cleveland's going for all of it or part of it, or if they'll go at all. This has a very quick response period, and we're going to be ready to get busy, get the application in to do it. So I guess the short answer is, I can't tell you if you get all of it, but it's part of it or none. But in my opinion, Cleveland's probably the only competition.
I guess the only other question I'd have is, since we're looking at budget talks right now too, how would this even affect the fiscal, or coming up fiscal year, as far as making any type of payment? Would that fall into the next fiscal year?
Well, in anticipation that somebody on the council would ask that question, I prepared a little summary, which admittedly is not perfect, but using your existing connections and your existing revenues, looking at your existing debt, adding this to it, if you did this project alone, it would require you to make a $1 per month increase in 2015. And following that, you'd have a $1 increase in 2016, and a $2 increase in 2018, and another $1.50 in 2019. And that's assuming no growth. That's exactly what you have there. Worst case circumstances. Now, if you were to do this project and your clean water project you've been working on, then you'd need a $4 per month increase in 2015, a $6 increase in 2016, and a $3 increase in 2019. Again, no growth.
Thank you.
Do we have anything that we would spend this money on? Can you sort of describe what we would do with it?
We've looked at that, and Councilman Pike, the project that's included in the water plan, both the regional plan and the state water plan, is for Van Alstyne to hook onto the CGMA line that's already been built. And Van Alstyne is already paying for it. You're already paying for the debt service, and you're also paying a take-or-pay contract for the water. I think your budget this next year is $126,000 in for that payment for the water as a take-or-pay, which you're going to pay for whether you take it or not. The implementation that we're looking at with this loan would be to develop that project, to develop the connection, to develop the blending tank, to mix the groundwater and that water from the CGMA line, put that into your system with the transmission line, and it fits about the right amount of money that this loan would provide if Van Alstyne were to get all of it. It's in that same ballpark. We don't have the final numbers, but it's in that range. The benefit there is that $126,000 you're already paying for water. You'd be able to utilize that water. Right now, you're not using any of it, and so that would ideally would also reduce the amount of water you have to pump out of the ground, because if you use that water, it's always going to be provided to you under pressure to the system, not to your system, but to Van Alstyne.
By blending them together, okay, would we cut back on how much we're paying them for the underground water we're getting?
That would be the ideal scenario would be you reduce the amount of groundwater you're using by that amount, and you want to use all of that because you're paying for it anyway.
Yeah. Well, how will that affect the rules and regulations on water usage? Since you blend it in all together, does that mean that the whole city goes under McKinney
Yes,
rules
sir.
and regulations?
Yes, sir. State law requires that any wholesale water supplier has to pass on any restrictions they have to anybody that they sell water to. So, North Texas is required to pass on the same water conservation measures which they impose on their member cities to us as a customer, and we're required to pass them on to you as a
to a customer of? Because I thought at one time there was discussion as to whether we were part of McKinney or part of Sherman and that.
Well,
Or you don't have any choice.
quick history, I don't think most of you were on the council when this project started. We started out years ago, Melissa was wanting water, they were growing and running out of water, and they got together with the rest of you, built this college racing line, and about the time we got it finished is when the economy dropped off the edge. And so you haven't accessed it, neither has Hal. Hannah has accessed it this year, and given their growth, they're not going to be able to do without it going forward. Melissa's been on it since it's finished. The water system, though, once again, if the original provider is on water rationing, that provision has to be passed on to everybody who participates. Right now, I think Dallas Water Utilities, which is their license to work, they serve 17 cities, satellites, 26 cities. They're on stage one, I think.
I believe so.
They're on stage one.
And they've gone to 2 different projects.
So they have to pass it on to everybody. Tarrant Regional, I understand now, is they're getting ready to have to institute that to all their customers on the west side. So it's a circumstance that is applicable to any wholesale water provider. They've got to pass that on if they go to stage one, stage two, or stage three. They have to pass that on. They serve.
Right now, North Texas South is at stage 3, which is once a week watering, with the thought that the Texoma line comes online next spring, and with the new treatment too. So they're expecting to have full capacity of the Texoma Basin and Levon and Cooper and everything else, and be back and running. So, I mean, can't say that they'll do this, but with the full supply available, you would expect that they would hopefully relax it back to stage 2, which would be twice week water.
Yes, their line construction is scheduled to be complete by November. By the time they get through testing and doing the other procedures that they want to do to make sure that everything works exactly the way they intended it, they'll probably go into production with that line sometime in the spring. That will free up 28% of their water supply. They've been locked out of that since 2009 voluntarily. They weren't required to. I expect that they'll use that line regularly, and we'll be able to access the 177,000 acre feet of water in Texoma that they have available to them, which adds 177 million gallons a day to their supply. And by the way, they are completing their transformation to ozone treatment. So the taste and odor problems that have been a problem with any surface water supply as Lake Turner will not be a problem in the future because of their use of ozone water treatment.
Thank you, Councilman Jennings.
I don't quite understand how you said the cost would not be but $1 in fiscal 2015, but if we're not, I understand the teacher's fee for 6 years, but unless we're paying back some principal, how do we not add debt to our budget?
Well,
I mean, is it going to be used for projects that's already being considered and going to be in the budget for those years that we're going to be paid back? Or?
what we did is simply took the net revenues out of your system for, I believe, the 2012, is that the last audit we had? We had 2011 to 12. Took the revenues, took your expenses out of there, took your debt service out of there, proposed debt, and wind up with a figure on the right-hand side. I'd be glad to make that information available to you, but that's basically it. You take your revenues, your expenses, what you have left for debt, available for debt, the amount of debt that you have, and the proposed debt, and see what you have left in the far right-hand column, make that debt service. And the reason it would not be that soon was for the next fiscal year. We're not closing until, we're not be closing until November 29th. And so the major debt service is not going to show up until year 15, fiscal year 15.
Okay, but we would at that time start including debt.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's okay. Second question is, it says here, these aren't numbered, but bullet 10, these funds are to be utilized to augment or increase new water supplies and transmission of water supplies.
Yes, sir.
They can only be used for projects, as Jerry mentioned earlier, that are in the state water plans. And the WIF program was identified to help people develop water supplies.
Okay.
And so Van Alstyne's connection to the CJ line is an expansion of their available supply.
Okay.
And that's why it's a project that is in the water plan, has been since 2006.
Yes.
Has been in the state, has been in the regional water plan, and then rolls up into the state water plan. And that's what makes this project eligible for the Water Infrastructure Fund, which was specifically identified for water supply projects. So in other words, if we wanted to replace mains in the systems, it would not qualify.
Okay,
It has to be development of a new supply.
Okay, it says here, we believe that requirement is satisfied.
It
So
is.
you specifically, so it is satisfied.
Yes, we've spoken to the person that governs the program.
My next question then is, we're looking at Project Armadillo that requires a new water supply in the form of a water tower. This appears to be a very attractive need that would be interested in. Does that project fall under the guidelines?
We checked with the state, and that's, a water tank is basically considered part of your distribution system. It's part of your delivery system, not your transmission system, because it's used to maintain pressure. It's kind of a nitpicky discussion.
It's a little gray right
It is.
there.
Well, but the other thing there is with this pump station and the mixing tanks, this supplements and prolongs the need for that tank on
Okay, then.
the Armadillo. So
So you're already going where I was headed. If we do not qualify under the guidelines of the tower, if we were able to supplement by means of what you're saying here, the booster pumps, I'm assuming a booster station with a what, ground storage tank?
yes,
There would be a ground storage tank and a pump
Will that
station.
take care of the issues we had in that development of that site to where we could delay?
once we get water to that site, yes, it could.
It
So
will
we
augment
could-
system pressures and allow you to look more.
So we could defer $1.5 or $2 million in whatever that cost was in that
Yes.
water tower for this time.
Yes, it can be
With this
designed.
project,
Yes,
and
it
it would
could.
fall under this. Okay.
So it's again, it's a nitpicky discussion about the water plan, because an elevated tank cannot be in the water plan. It's not allowed, it's not a water
But it
supply.
will do what we're.
But it will help Van Alstyne defer that
What
project.
was that cost on the tower, Frank, like 1.5 million and 3-point-something% interest, or what was it?
On the water tower, it was, well, it depended on, as far as the cost of the water tower, I mean, Princeton paid $2 a gallon.
Okay.
The tower out on 3133, we were told that John paid $1 a gallon, million gallon. So if you do a million gallon tank, $1 million. If you do 500,000, it costs $2 $1 million.
And what was the interest?
That was
on that?
projected.
You remember?
The interest rate on,
Wasn't it 3-something?
it was similar to what we were going for on the drinking water side. It was, I mean, on the clean water side. So it was 3, 4, 3, right in that area, 3.5.
And of course, Van Alstyne wasn't picked for that project.
Oh,
Van Alstyne would have had to fund that through their own process.
oh, Armadillo's.
No, I meant the water tank.
The drinking
We had
water.
applied for the drinking
Oh,
water
okay,
funding
okay.
to the same as we did for the
Clean water.
clean water. And
We're still in line.
we're in line, but we weren't put in the top.
We weren't
of the list.
prioritized, so we have to wait to
So-
see what.
And then like I also told y'all, Jerry has individuals, or not individuals, but funders, private funders that would like to look at our projects too, should we need anything like that.
So we do have the possibility of eliminating an issue we have on another project at a very low interest rate and deferring any cost for 2 years if that project comes through. But my next question is, if we have to close the transaction by November 29th, how soon do you have to begin work on the project after?
There's no criteria.
There is no criteria for that?
No, you
If
just,
we
you
wanted
have
to
to
wait.
start, you have 20 years to pay it off. They don't really care when you build it.
Well,
I mean,
Well,
I say that, that's not true. They do care, but
yes, they do.
but they don't have a
There's gotta be
criteria.
a,
If we issue tax exempt debt,
yes,
we're supposed to be utilizing them within a 36-month period, otherwise the Internal Revenue Service is completely.
But in between, they go ahead and stop us.
so
It's
we
not
would
like-
have, we would have a time period to see if other possibilities and other projects did come to fruition as far as armadillo and some things like that.
That's true.
Okay.
I mean, the anticipated, of course, this phone call happened last Thursday.
Right.
And here we are Monday. A lot of this has been paper napkin type stuff. Of course, they've got what you got in front of you. But the anticipated time frame for design, once awarded, for design, construction, or planning, design, and construction is 18 months. Once we're awarded the funds. So if we want to defer, if you want to wait and see where we are, we'll need to have an executive session about where we are with that project.
Okay.
But,
Well,
yeah, but
regardless of where we are, there could be an option.
what I'm trying to give you is,
Something possible.
what we've got anticipated is 18 months.
Okay.
So if we want to defer for a certain amount of time and wait and see
Right.
if we have a bird in the hand, then we can do that.
Okay. That's it.
Councilman Smith?
Of this 2.3 million, how much of that will be used for the blending process? And how much are we going to have? How much will it cost us to activate a line we already have?
For your engineers on that.
To activate a line now.
Well, the water line that we share with the other three cities.
Yes, you have two take points right now.
Okay.
Take one on the south side, which I assume would be the first one that you activate, and you have a second take point.
But it's not going to cost $2 million for us to start taking surface water.
No.
Okay, so out of this 2.3 million, how much would it cost to activate that process?
We've done some very, very rough estimating. Please, very rough. I don't even know the exact distance or length or anything between the connections. But we estimated about $30,000 to make the connection and extend the line to the storage tank that would have to be built. We would need a storage tank to blend the water. And we've estimated that there would need to be a water quality study done to make sure that the water that goes into your system will blend well. So that's another probably $20,000 to $30,000. We've estimated 30 to be conservative. And then you would need you need to make modifications to the disinfection that we do, because right now we use chlorine in Van Alstyne, and we would need to use chloramines, because that's what's used on the water that would be coming. So it would be a change.
So the $90,000 to $95,000 to start taking water from that line is a fair estimate?
I think if you're going to put it in your existing tanks and blend it with what you have, that would be reasonable.
But we're going to have to build a tank on top of it.
If you have to build a tank
Okay.
on top of it, that's going to be another probably $250,000 to $300,000.
Okay. But how much of that money can we use to provide services for the west side of 75?
We have estimated that about a mile of pipe would be included to get water to the west side of 75. And that's what we've based our initial numbers on.
That's what got this to the 2.3 million, is to create
The
the tank.
So this 2.3 million is a figure you calculated, not
Right.
just not the amount of money that's available for loan.
It's kind of a,
We knew what we were trying to hit, so we were trying to put as much into the system as possible. And we were able to get the connection point, the blending tank, and the pump station as an item, and then
And
about,
then take the water to the west side.
and then in about
That's
5,600
included in this.
feet of pipe to get it over to the west side of Center.
As much as we can.
And we're going to eliminate expense, like John was asking, of an elevator tower.
Yeah, yes, it could be, the pump station could be designed to help supplement the pressures and the water supply so that the elevator
how
tank
long?
can be, well, depends on your growth. But
Average figure. We're still at some point.
3
gonna
to
have-
10 years.
we're still gonna have at some point an elevated tower, or elevated storage.
Well, yes and no. Right now, you have one elevated storage tank. The city of Garland, for example, has 2 elevated tanks that serves 200,000 people. They work on the pressure system. And right now, you're at the switch point, you have one elevated tank. If we want to work on it, if this system works better and it's a pressure system, we go with the pressure system without the elevated storage.
Now, when you said you have to change, when you blend these together and they're using a different process for purification, does that mean the rest of the water in Van Alstyne has to be the same purification method? So we have to convert everything we have to match what's going to be?
It'll be mixed.
And that's included in this money also?
We will include that in this one, yeah.
Was there any discussion? I'm sorry, interrupting. Is that okay?
I'll go back to
Huh? Okay.
I just wanted to be sure that we weren't spending another $2 million just to tap into what we already have. We're well beyond just tapping into that money.
Yes, no, this is the
The
supplement.
figure that I've heard ever since I've been here was $90,000 to start taking water for the purification system. I mean, and I just wanted to know if that was a real figure.
It doesn't sound out of line.
Okay.
But the 90,000 didn't include any changing to chlorine to chlorine.
Your first conversation was to have the surface water isolated to future developments.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna be able to do that, because the well 6, the well that we were planning on using, right now it's down. We can't reach it, water right now. We can keep it for a couple of days, and then the water level drops on that aquifer.
Now, when we take water, that means Hal can take water, right? Can
They
can
can
they,
do that now.
They can do that.
they could do it without us doing it?
Yes,
without
the
us
line
doing it?
is, the line is charged all the way to the surge tank there. in the
Okay, well,
south.
that's different than conversations I've heard that
Well,
it
it's
has to
only-
come our way before we can take it.
Well, we activated it this summer for Hannah.
Mhm.
And when we did that, we had to activate it all the way to the ground.
So that's a fairly new reversal of that opinion, that you want, they can't take it till we take it. It has to work its way upstream as opposed to the whole stream working at one time.
I'm not sure about the source of that other information. All I can say is that we had to activate the entire line so we have the surge.
But that was a fairly recent event, that
Yes,
you
sir.
activated the line?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They've been on this since July.
Well, I've been here for a long time, 5 years, so, just want to be sure that, I'm trying to find a storyline that's consistent. And I want to be sure that the information I receive is up to date, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I have one question about knowing that water is a scarce commodity. Is there enough water? I mean, where are we drawing the water from? That we, hear people saying when they fly over like Lake Lavon, it's so low, there's no water. And, if we're talking about Lake Texoma, the mussel, the zebra mussel and all that, where are we getting our water supply?
This water will come from the North Texas Municipal Water District. They currently have Lake Lavon, which is middling low. They have Lake Chapman over in Delta County, which has also been suffering from drought. And they have Lake Texoma, which they have voluntarily ceased pumping from since 2010 because of the zebra mussel. With the construction of this $300 million line that they're constructing from Powell over toward Leonard, down to Farmersville, and back over their plant, they will They will complete that in November, as you said earlier, and they will begin using it next spring. That will allow them back into Texoma, where 28% of their water supply is. So that will greatly relieve the pressure that they've been under for water supply. I'm sure they have two other major resources which are not recognized by most people. They have a wastewater treatment plant located east of Allen, Texas, which discharges 54 million gallons per day, straight back into Lake Mark. They have a plant, they have a project down in Kaufman County where they take water from Mesquite, Garland, and the Valette plants, wastewater plants. Take that up into a 2,000-acre reservoir in Kaufman County. On the west side, and they take it out on the east side and pump it straight back to the bottom. That probably yields them about 75 million gallons a day. You will see more and more of that practice employed in Texas as we go through time and population increases. It's a very common practice in the parts of the country where water is starting to decline, and they have been very adept at doing that. They would not have made it through the grounds in the past if they had. But the answer to the question is they have 3 lakes, and those 2 reuse projects supply their 1.6 million people currently. They are also building lake in Fannin County, where Woodard. That is scheduled to be online in 2020, 2022, somewhere in that time. So I believe that they will have an adequate water supply. I'll mention one other thing that is a fail-safe. When this CGMA line was designed, it was designed so that it could be fed from either end. And it could be fed from the north end. So there is about 2.5-mile pipeline that would be necessary to feed it from the south side of Sherman into that line and feed it from both ends. That was something that the city manager of Anna had asked me about a few months ago, because he too was concerned about the long-term viability of the road to stop what's going on. So that could be done too. We currently have 83,000 acre feet of water available in Texoma, and we're not near that much being used right now. That's been bought and paid for, and is available. So long term, and you're assured of a reliable water supply.
Okay, so most of the water from Lake Texoma then is not going, it's not all going to the Dallas area for them to water their lawns.
North Texas has rights to 177,000 acre feet, and we have rights to 83,000.
Are the aquifers that were drained or really low, are they replenishing themselves, or?
We have 2 aquifers in this area. The Woodbine, which is a minor aquifer, it outcrops about the Whitesboro area, down dip to the south and east, and there's water from that. There are more Woodbine wells in Grayson County than there are Trinity wells. The other major aquifer is the Trinity Formation, down crops over River Munster, down dips to the south and east, and it's, by the time you get out of Grayson County, it's about 2,000 feet or so. The last well we drilled here is out here on the west side, 75, with 2,400 feet there, got about 325 gallons. We're involved with several other groundwater districts trying to determine how much water is there, how long it's going to last, and by 2017, all these groundwater districts are going to set what's called a desired future condition, how where you want the aquifer to be in 50 years. Determine how much is there, where you want it to be in 50 years, and the differences in management available to use. I can't tell you this evening what those numbers are, but the next 3 years are going to have to be developed.
Well, I know, I had attended, I guess, one of your briefings, Grayson County women's, but you had pointed out the aquifers that were depleted basically, or were not replenishing themselves, and that was a concern.
These aquifers are not like the Edwards, that drain Medina County and Jefferson Vegetation. They replenish much more slowly. They have been overdrafted in Dallas County, Tarrant County, Shannon County. They're not as bad in this area, but they do not replenish quickly.
But if we do try to use this water, then there is sufficient for us to use.
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Okay. Another question I had is, taking on more debt, and this is addressed to, but, we already are deeply indebted in this city with bonds, and then the possibility of purchasing lots of new equipment. How much can our citizenry absorb of new debt?
That's a decision for y'all to make. We brought this opportunity to you. If we're going to look at taking 60,000 payment, the first payment of 60,000 to close on the note, my recommendation, since we've already set, we haven't set, but y'all agreed to a preliminary rate, is to take it from the depreciation and say new line item. If y'all want to readjust the rate, we can put a new line item in, not mess with the depreciation, and see what's best to do. But until you had your questions answered, y'all were even considering it, we really didn't mess with the utility rate. It's something we can start working on here in the next few minutes if you want to. The main thing was getting the information in front of y'all to consider.
Okay, but now when you're talking about adjusting, are you looking at more debt for the citizens, or how is it going to be paid back, all this additional debt?
It's paid for by use. So on the enterprise fund, it's going to be paid for by not just the citizens, but the business owners and everybody involved, all of our meter taps.
So there will be a need for more burden than on the citizens, I'm talking citizens, the
I
entire
understand what you're saying,
population.
but do you want to borrow it now and get started on the take instead of just paying for this water that's sitting there and start utilizing it in the system? Or do you want to defer it and at some other time, the council can make that decision? It's a low interest rate, it's not, you get started on it, it's totally up to council. So at some point, doesn't have to be this year, it can wait several years like Anna did, to where it's a necessity, and where we can start tapping that line. It's totally up to council. But the main thing was getting this in front of you because it is a low interest line.
It is a low interest.
It is. So,
It's also a quick one. You have to,
Make a quick decision, yeah.
it's kind of jump,
But you still gotta pay back the purchase.
exactly.
Principles is that.
It's kind of jump or go home, though. We got to make a decision.
Thank you.
were you going to say something?
Since we have several questions,
Okay.
I'm going to go around the council. So, Councilman Moore, do you have additional questions?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Blake?
Yeah, I just had some continuation of what Jim was talking about, because I've been on the council a little bit, not quite a while too. I was told the story, this, you can tell me whether or not this is true or false, that there was a possibility of just hooking, that as soon as Anna took water out of there, then they were going to treat the water. The water would be treated as far as up to here. If we took the water separate and ran it into the Georgetown neighborhoods and ran that off that, and didn't allow Georgetown to get water from the rest of the city, separated the two sources, then we wouldn't have to put in treatment facilities and all that kind of stuff, because the water would already be treated that got to there. As long as it was running water and good, good moving water that hadn't, that wouldn't go away. We'd have to check it and verify it, might have to put some equipment to add to it once in a while. But that would be the very cheapest way for us to hook up and use that water, and instead of blending it in with the rest of the city. Is that a semi-true statement?
No, I think it's absolutely true. It can be done. The limit that you you might face there is the amount of water that you would be paying for if you took all that you're paying for based on the rate
Yeah,
is about half your supply.
okay.
And we'd have to extend lines to connect to those parts of the system that would be on that type of water. And you'd have to isolate the system to be able to do that. It is workable, but I'm not sure that it would be less expensive than the other option of going ahead and doing it where you could. Because this is not all the water you can take.
Yeah,
What we've said
yeah.
is this is the amount of water you're able to take and not have to
Already
pay
paid
any
for.
additional money.
Yeah, already paid.
If Van Alstyne continues to grow, which appears to be poised to do, then there's a good chance you take more water here than what we're talking about now to fulfill the needs of the city. So it can be done. It just,
Now, that wouldn't allow for anything related to going across Highway 75.
You'd have to isolate the systems totally
Yeah.
separately.
Yeah.
And have to run parallel lines to,
Yeah.
so it would get rather complicated for a system.
Well, it's not as bad as my idea. I wanted to run all the water out there and bring it into town and bring all the city water out to out to Georgetown so we could still use our sprinkler system. That would probably been more costly. That was all I had.
Okay, I'm a little confused on the chart. When you said the cost for this, it says from 2013 to 2018, we have no expense for interest.
Well, I said,
Is that what that means?
that's a chart showing the difference between rates, municipal rates, last year and this year. That's the chart showing what the interest rates are. Zero interest rates out here, state subsidized. See, they've issued bonds already. They
Right.
issued a year or so ago when the interest rates were extremely low, and they're offering a subsidy of 1%, so there's no interest out until,
But we will start paying principal?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not like the line we have now that we're paying interest only from 2025?
Part of that is interest on it, and the rest of it, there's some amortization of the rest of it. I think,
Well, on the schedule we were given during our budget process, it shows we pay interest only until 2025 on our share of the $9 million.
well, that project wound up costing $17, $18 million. It's been a while, so I can't be precise to the full vision. But we had a conventional, it's what's called a D-fund loan, development fund loan. We had a state participation loan, which allows you to defer part of the interest for several years until hopefully growth takes over and you got more people to pay it. That was the one that interest is, we're paying interest on it.
Now, when you said it was $1 a year, is that $1 per something, or is that?
$1 per connection per month.
Okay.
And that's, as we've all indicated, this has all happened very quickly, so
Okay.
we're fine. That's the case.
Any other questions? Okay. Are there any further questions? Last call. Then, is there a motion that we approve this resolution?
There's a piece of paper. That piece of paper, are we supposed to, each individual councilman supposed to, I'm just curious. The resolution, this is just what we're authorizing the mayor to sign if we pass the
Yes, sir.
resolution. Okay.
Yeah, I just, it's like the others, you just make, we have a standard motion, second. Yeah, you do.
I make a motion that we apply for it. The money to
On the
do the
motion.
water project, water development board.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
We, well, if we apply for it, are we gonna have to come back to the table and say, and then authorize? I mean, do you need, does the motion need to say that,
We'll be back, if you tell us to apply, we'll apply starting tomorrow. This decision will probably be made first week of August, of October, as to where the funds are going to be awarded. After that, if you're fortunate enough to get you funded, we'll be back to you with more specific information and require the council check off on proceeding from that point forward.
okay,
What you're doing is authorizing me to sign this resolution
but what,
so that we can pursue the funding through the Texas Water.
but what his motion said that he's making a motion that we apply for it, but not for the mayor to sign this resolution.
That's what that means.
Yeah, that's what, I'm just trying to get clarity on the motion, I'm sorry.
If the motion is to do the resolution, then it has to be signed.
Okay. Is that your motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a motion by Councilman Floyd, seconded by Councilman Jennings. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. We have 5 It has passed. Thank you so very much for your time and the explanation, gentlemen. We do appreciate it. At this time, we will go to item 7. Is there a motion that we adjourn from our special call session? We have a motion by Councilman Mower. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Blake. I assume there's no discussion, so all those in favor of adjourning this meeting, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. This meeting is adjourned. We are now leaving this meeting and going to our next meeting. Will the meeting of the City Council work session please come to order? It is now 7:26. Item number 2, discussion regarding the 2013-14 fiscal year City of Van Alstyne General Fund budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, put another document in front of you right before the meeting. Open questions on what you had before you over the weekend or from last meeting or what you have in front of you now. Slight modifications, just as we get more accurate numbers, we're making adjustments.
What were the adjustments in administration compared to?
The adjustments in administration, our sales tax revenue, we're projected to, instead of the decrease being being the 90,000 flat, we're projected to have a decrease of only 62,000 because our increase on the sales tax revenue will put us at 487,950 instead of 420, I believe. Or no, 460. And then that correlates in also on your 580 page under streets. You'll see, instead of it being the flat 90,000, we've adjusted the numbers where we anticipate 97,589.32 we come in and sales tax revenue from the street program next year.
Oh, franchise tax.
Okay, our franchise tax has been adjusted, 30,000 to 170. Got to call into Encore to verify that figure, but that's a good figure for us. We have our franchise tax we received from Encore and Adams. Also adjusted in the revenue, 5102, property tax revenue delinquent. We adjusted it upwardly to 15,000. And that's a very conservative estimate, as well as property tax penalty and interest. We adjusted it up to 5,000.
Also decreased on the expenditures, maintenance or repair to buildings, rather than replacing or repairing, I'm not sure how to state it, the entire roof. We're just gonna do the back one-story portion where the city manager's office and the bathroom are, because they're the worst, I guess. Water pours in those two rooms when it rains, so.
Get the rain gutter quicker.
Hadn't gotten anybody up there yet.
Did you say the back portion was one story or two?
The back portion of the bathroom and my office are one story.
Can you justify for me, please, the salary increases that you're talking about there for 16,000?
That's city clerk moving up in the pay scale, pay for performance, as well as utility billing clerk and
The billing clerk doesn't have that.
no. And that's Carolyn. That's the contract services, city clerk, and front desk clerk.
Is a portion of that, and I'd have to look to remember an
And that's
exact
also, the fuel line item that was in last year has been moved there.
Okay.
So that way it's budgeted appropriately.
So you're not considering the pay freeze on all employees till we can get our debt under control?
No, that's for council to consider. What I'm bringing to you is the pay for performance we implemented last year. If that's something the council wants to do, then please direct me.
And how do I bring this before the council then?
Just make a motion. Or not a motion, because we're not in that kind of meeting.
No, I know.
Have
Just need a majority.
Yeah,
to
a
provide
majority
it.
feeling.
A general, how about a general discussion of each one?
That's good. That's fine.
And your, what you're suggesting is a freeze on salaries? Yes. For, I know for the city, is there a wrong period? For this budget year, for this 2014 budget year. A freeze on the salary for this budget. Okay. We'll start, Councilman Smith, start. What is your opinion
I've talked
on
to other
this?
cities and other businesses, and City of Howell has not had a salary increase for years. Last time I talked to a council over there, I agree with Terry. Please on the salaries. It's more in line with reality and with the rest of the world to have a freeze than it is to have a substantial increase like it's being proposed.
And how actually, there's one council member that's proposed a 10% increase for employees. There's another council member that proposed the same thing that Councilwoman Toiber proposed, which is 0. And then there's 3 others that are, my understanding is in the 2 to 4% range.
Last conversation I had, there was no pay increase this year.
Okay.
Just to clarify, 10,800 of that total salary increase is going to be related to appropriately funding the city manager's salary. He had in his contract there 4,800 that was budgeted last year in, I think, a vehicle fuel expense, because during the interim he was provided a fuel card for his vehicle. And then also $6,000 was budgeted last year in contract services, and that was for the monthly vehicle allowance. So those $2 figures have been moved into that line item in particular.
So
And then the remaining would be
Making
increases.
an accounting adjustment is one thing, but pay increases is
Right.
what we're talking about.
Right, I just want to make sure,
Sure.
right, that
That it's not.
10,800 of that is just the adjustment. Then the remainder is. an
6,000 is actually increases.
But we're, the
Right.
only thing we're discussing right now is the salary.
5,300.
increase. Right, that's what I'm
Now,
discussing as
This isn't just
well.
admin, this is citywide,
Okay, but
which is
yes, about
141,000.
admin. I understand citywide.
Okay. Councilman Jennings?
Do you have the total figure and actual salary increases through this entire budget for all departments?
I apologize, I didn't print that out, but I can bring it up on the screen.
And this is the sheet that was provided to y'all a week ago.
I can't read that. What is the total?
She's going down to.
Ooh,
That I can read.
yeah. Citywide, I think. Yeah. We've made adjustments, and the final that we've proposed is citywide an increase overall, which includes salaries, overtime, payroll taxes, health insurance, TMRS, and workers' comp, is $70,757.99, which is an overall increase of 3%.
We're talking about just a salary increase only.
The salary increase only is not going to be 3%. It's going to be less than 3%, right?
With benefits, with health insurance going up 30%.
But we're just talking salary.
We can pull that out. Just take a few minutes.
So the
I would
health,
like to see, the total cost and salary increases only,
Yes, sir.
and the actual percentage of that increase to the total budget.
Do you want to talk about other things, or are you going to watch me and make notes?
We're gonna watch it.
While you're looking for that, but other than, you said how, have not had an increase in 2 or 3 years, what other cities have felt?
I can't recall right off the top of my head.
And
How
Melissa,
does not-
Alstyne, they've all had steady increases.
How doesn't have a ambulance service?
How,
They provide.
how has,
Have something near the employees that we
yeah, how has volunteer
And
fire
when you go to
department?
Anna and listen,
Let me,
people that are.
let me ask this.
Growth has been 3 times.
While Jennifer's working on that,
Yes, sir.
has your department heads already came to you as city manager with those that would receive, in my understanding, not all employees would receive an increase, is that correct?
That's true.
Have you been given that list by your department heads of the employees that would receive increases?
Yes, sir.
What is the percentage of, what's our number? 54 employees or 35 employees? What's the total?
We have 33 full-time.
33 full-time, you've got 33, how many will receive an increase?
It's right around 95%. I mean, I can bring you that number, but it's, there's only a few outliers that are in any type of, improved performance program.
How about part-time? How many of those? How many do we have?
How many part-time? We have 1, 2, chief engineer.
Budget for,
13. How many of those were good increases?
6 or 13?
On the part-time side. The main thing with part-time is most of those personnel go on and find full-time in bigger departments or other departments. So we're consistently hiring new
yeah.
personnel, so we don't typically give those people
I
away.
fully understand where Councilwoman Tolbert is coming from. And I know that there has been salary freezes. I myself have been under salary freeze. At the same time, I know that it's important that we keep quality personnel and quality staff. I would be more inclined to support, once we can see the figures and no actual percentage increase, that to support just a flat fixed increase of say 2% flat across the board for all staff. Depending on what these figures are.
if I may, I'm down to 4 part-time people, 3 part-time people. 3 part-time people. One of those works 10 hours a week. All he does is take my computers. I have cut the hours of the 14-hour week versus 12. Cut the hours of the 20-hour week versus the 18. Of my staff, the guy who was 6 hours a week, we are now going to try to replace him with volunteer. So he's gone altogether. Of the 3 part-time people remaining, I calculated a 2% raise for each of them effective January.
Do we have any, where's our highest turnover? Being in public works and fire engines,
Probably fire department.
fire department, part-time. How much of your turnover would you attribute to salaries?
100%. Because they can go work for a private company 10 miles up the road, make the starting pay of $17 an hour. I've lost 3 to Collier County area. You know, fire department wise, we start at $30,000 for, because like my salary is a $28,000 increase. We didn't have a fire chief last year, so that was a 0 salary. So we're looking at fully staffing our department and only increasing. So we're looking at people moving around, but they can go down, we start at 30, we can go down south at all, I mean, they're testing all the time, the guys on. And they get hired on, Frisco, McKinney, Plano, that starts at 60, 64. You know, they leave. You can't blame them for that.
Well, I think it's,
Much larger towns. They are larger towns, they can put those in.
Are there some of the things, I don't think in the police department, there's step increases and things like that you have?
We have
Is there
pay
stuff like that?
performance. Back when Mr. Rodriguez was here,
Yeah.
and they did the study, we went away from the step, and
Okay.
it's paid for. And I believe that's an alternate.
It is. The example I gave you was, as far as step increases are concerned, where you got employee A that does an excellent job,
Yeah.
commendable. You got employee B, lackluster, may, does his job, but just the letter, and both of them get a step increase. There's no incentive there.
Two ways to look at it. One is for
Not just salaries.
Just salaries, okay. So if you look at citywide payroll budget, you got a 15% increase. If you look at the water fund total, 93%, but keep in mind, we moved personnel out of streets and into water and sewer.
so the actual increase has been brought to you now from department heads, whoever those may be that's considered for increases, it's a 15% increase.
It's a what?
It's a 15%.
Now, because again, we're putting in didn't we do a part-time, one person over the police?
Well, I reduced my staff. I went from full-time to a part-time for the CID. Of course, the SRO, he's being mostly funded by the school, and the rest of it's being funded by the seizure fund.
We funded firefighter position for the fire department that John on funded last year. We got Steve, Tracy, of course, has cut back. So if you want me to break it out, and we can do that, and I can get that back to you already.
But did you not say we had 33 full-time employees and there was a 95% increase? That's what I just wrote down.
93 on the water side, but again,
93 on the
that's
water.
moving personnel out of streets into the water and sewer.
I also
So,
like,
Let me ask it simply, then. If you just took the employees last year and the salary, and took the employees this year and the salary, regardless of whether they're performing their duties, what's the increase in salary?
I'll have to get it.
Okay.
So we'll write down what
So.
he's talking about as far as personnel from last year. What's their increase in salaries? Not adding all these people in it. We moved into water and sewer, in the funding position, fire department. What's the aggregate percentage? So we'll put that together and get it to you.
then
When can we get that?
As soon as, should be by the end of the week.
By the end of the week? So we would need that before we pass on our budget.
Sure.
Okay.
I highly doubt we'll be able to get that done.
Well,
My,
end of the week.
without having all those figures, my thoughts would be that we consider just a flat increase across the board. 2%.
well, let me throw something in there, John, with that. I just got a notice for like the military, where they were supposed to get a 1.8% all active duty military. It has been cut down to 1%. If anything, I say a freeze, but if anything, a 1%. And there are people defending why we're free and why we're here, and they're only getting a 1% increase.
Okay, let's go down the road. Councilman, what is your views on this?
I'm not in favor of the direct 2% or whatever it is, because they went through the time and effort of trying to rate people that deserve raises and rate people and not give raises to people who don't deserve them. And I hate to see us throw that scheme away. The first year they really get implemented that much.
So you want, you're in favor of it staying as is,
I'm in favor of staying as is, yes.
okay? Councilman Ball.
I agree with Billy. I think if this is what we implemented a year ago, all of a sudden we're going to tell them, sorry, changed our mind. I mean, I don't agree with that. And I know that the pay for performance, what's the maximum percentage of pay increase percentage-wise that they would receive?
Typically, the step is 3%.
3%. So our average should not be above 3%. It should be below.
I'll ask you to table it tomorrow night. We'll get you the numbers.
Okay.
So this you're asking to be tabled until you can get the numbers?
I'm asking, yes, ma'am, not just tonight, but tomorrow as well, so that way you'll have to get numbers, that way
Get all
you'll be able to
the
make
numbers
an
together.
informed decision.
I think that's the best way.
Thank you, Mayor.
My opinion on it, Mayor, is that one of the problems we have is we got a police department and a fire department, which make up a huge chunk of our payroll, and them by themselves, they lose them because they can go and find a higher paying job. And I understand they can find a higher paying job in a larger city, but they're not performing a job that's any different in a small town than they would in a larger town. So they're getting paid less for the same job that they would be going to in that larger town. So I'm just, I want to be able to keep quality employees, and I know that at some point, we're going to have to get to that bar and putting a freeze on it. There's going to be guys that are going to be for the mass exit versus, and it's hard. I mean, I've talked to all of y'all. It's hard enough for y'all to get quality employees as it is. I think that's so minimal to our budget that having quality employees helps us manage our budget, and I think they pay for themselves versus having unquality employees that can waste our money. That's my opinion.
Okay, we have two stay as is, and three, one is flat fixed, one is yes or flat yes, and one that is yes and a different percentage. So what is the date that you will bring all of these figures back? Next Monday? Or you
By the
said?
end of the week, I'll have them to you.
Okay, by the end of the week, you'll have it, all the paperwork done.
The other question that I have is we had, when we were talking about health care, at one point you had given us a figure of about 20 point something or other percentage increase. Now tonight you're saying a 30% increase in health care?
I didn't say 20%. It was a health increase, depending on the department. It's anywhere from 24. Then we can do 30%.
You also told us that you would be getting quotes from Aetna and a couple other companies.
Yes, ma'am. Those take time.
We don't have them yet.
No, ma'am. We won't have them for weeks.
So then we can't approve the budget until we get them.
We can. We have health insurance coverage. The main thing is if we can find savings, then we'll do that. The other thing is not only getting the rate from that, but making sure that that's going to be a quality provider.
Yeah, well, based on what I'm seeing in the private sector and, across the board, I think that we need to make some changes to what the healthcare thing, what we're providing, and perhaps higher deductibles, or like some companies are doing, is paying a health savings account basically where there's so much, and then they manage, the employees manage their own health care because the whole situation is changing with the implementation of the Affordable Care Act.
I agree.
And I think we need to look at some other ways of funding this, or providing health care for the employees. Like I said, UPS and one of the universities has gone to spousal coverage, and others are going to
that's what
higher
we're doing.
deductibles and different things like that. And I would like to see some of the other options rather than just the plain 24 to 30% increase.
And we have, what is it, 3 left that are getting any type of family or spousal coverage. Majority of employees do not. We can look at a health savings plan if that's what council wants to do. If you want to raise deductibles, the main thing is if you want to retain good employees, at some point there's a breaking point. And if we're disposable, then
Well,
you can see the demographic of the state will change dramatically next year. Maybe not. It's
maybe
a
not,
gamble.
because look at
So,
how,
I understand.
Where else
The
are you
thing-
going to go to get the same coverage?
Where else are you going to go to get the same coverage?
yeah.
South.
Anna Schools, as an example, for years, 3 years ago, when I had a conversation with them, their employees that like we provide the full coverage, Anna Schools has not provided full coverage. The employees have paid 25%.
I understand that. Both my parents are educators, and only a portion of their health insurance is paid for. You're talking about an apple and an orange, though. You're not going to see people from municipal government go work for the ISD, and likewise, you're not going to see people from the ISD go to municipal government. You'll see something very similar in Van Alstyne ISD and Alstyne ISD, and even further south as far as what percentage of health care coverage is covered. If you want to look at municipal government and be competitive, it's covered for the employee. As things change, or if y'all want to be the ones to change it, just let me know and we'll make those changes. What I'm saying is, if you want to retain the employees that you have, you need to stay competitive within a certain range.
Within a certain range, but I would like to see some other numbers and figures.
Yeah,
I just think that it's, we're overcompensating. I mean, we are public servants, or you all are hired as public servants. We as elected council members are also serving the public. And we have how many people in our city that do not have health care coverage at all and are looking for jobs. And while I believe in quality, I also think in fairness, because with a population of 3,046, of how many of those are children that don't work and cannot count, what is our debt? And I've already pointed out that with the bonds that we owe and the different, and that, let's see, the bonds, something like 2,400 is per capita debt to each citizen of this town, plus all the equipment, the loans that we're going to be making on all the equipment. We're putting these citizens in such a bad situation. And I think it's time that we as a city pull in and not go for broke.
Okay. Is that the feeling of the council?
Does anyone
My comments to that is that the city is not in any different situation than any other city in this community, in this state. And we're also coming out of a very hard economic time for the entire country. The thing of it is, we still have to operate. And in order to attract new residents and to grow population, to build our tax revenue base, we have to maintain what we have and we have to improve what we have. Unfortunately, the people who live here now are the ones that have to bear that burden. It's not a fact that people are going to move in here with the streets not repaired or water not available or any other thing that they look for in the community. We're facing the same situation all the other times. We can't. If people do not come and we continue to decrease in population, the cost to each person is just going to be great. $2,400 something we talked about it come through that. In order to attract people and to reduce that, we're going to have to improve.
Yeah, but it's not by increasing the cost to the city.
I feel like too many councils have went too long making bad decisions to not do things to improve this town, not make it better. And we finally have an opportunity to maybe here in the future, in your future, start making some changes and making something that will affect things that may eventually help people have less water bills and less things if we can get things going the right direction. You know, with new businesses and new housing and new, you know, areas wanting to move here, is all gonna help us. But if we don't, if we just, you know, cut everybody's salary and lay everybody off, cut out their health care, we're not gonna get any of those things done. We're not gonna get to that stage, and we won't be there for the.
No, but we may be Stockton, California
We
and
may
declare
be-
bankruptcy.
We may be Stockton, California, but I don't, you know, then they fire us all for getting them there, I don't know. But I think we need to fire the previous councils for getting us where we are now, for not doing any of this stuff.
So, you know, I enjoy sitting on council. I came to many council meetings, and I sat back and looked at some of the decisions, and Mr. Flake and Mr. Smith, they voted and bought the truck that we're trying to rebuild. You know, there's been a lot of bad decisions. And it's a learning process, and I think Mr. Flake, Mr. Smith, and Russell, and us, you know, you have to improve things, and you don't improve freezes.
Did you walk away from Alstyne College because they froze your salary?
No, I did not.
No. And I don't think people will walk away from this city if we freeze salaries for 1 year.
The thing of it is, and when you talk about when you put it in perspective, you talk about 1% raise, 2% raise is a very minimal raise, which is what I got this year. The thing of it is, when you talk about 1% raise and somebody that makes maybe, I'm just going to feed that because I don't know the salary, somebody makes $13 an hour, that's not a raise. It's you need to look at what the reality is in 2% raise or 3% raise. My main concern is that, you know, and the reason I ask is how many percentage of the people are getting a raise of this 3% across the board. You know, somebody getting 15 or 20, and somebody getting 2. That may be some things we can look at. That's where I was looking at something equitable and maybe frozen across, depending on where this figure comes out. I fully believe that our employees deserve it.
Well, we will have the paperwork on something this week.
Yes, ma'am.
So that will be something that we will have to address on the general fund budget. Are there other items on the general fund budget that the council would like to discuss?
One of the things that I questioned, and this would go with the general fund and for the fire department and the enterprise fund, and I haven't done the figures, so I don't know. I may be shooting myself in the foot because I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that it will calculate the right answer. I haven't done it, so I don't know what the final answer is going to be. Instead of taking sales figures that we didn't achieve last year and starting over with those same expected sales figures, take a 5-year average of actual income and use that as a basis to start with. Ambulance, for example, 922,000 is what we expected, but we're only going to get 500 and some thousand. You're starting the year over assuming that you're going to make the 922,000. If you don't do it 1 year, what has to happen to make it the next year? Take a 5-year average of actuals and use that as a starting amount.
I think 1.5 million isn't going to help us. That's in the 5-year average. We've gone down 125,000 is what we anticipate as revenue. Again, we are going through Medicare revalidation. So once that is finalized, our billing company anticipates that our revenue will come back up, not to the current level that what they projected for this current year prior to Medicare revalidation, but it will be back up, you know, certainly. Also, you've got the 130,000 from the sale on assets of equipment. Should we get the loan?
Well, but you've also got a payoff on those. on that 130,000.
We're gonna pay off the engine, yes, sir, when we purchase the new.
So you don't have 130,000 income. You're not.
Well, but you
gonna
have to
net-
show it in the revenue side, so.
You're not going to net
On the
130,000.
expenditure
And
side.
my point is, take a 5-year average and use that as your expected income for water, sewer, and for your ambulance.
Well, for water sewer, we actually did we had a professional come in that TCEQ paid for to do the water and sewer rate. We didn't do it in-house, so it's an applicable rate. It's going to do what it's supposed to do.
I still could see that as I hope we do this, as a, we will do this.
Okay. That's not really applicable for the ambulance service. It is fairly volatile, and we've had years that were $1.5 million, and we've had years that were like this year, that are short. That average may come out the same numbers, may come out something different. Chief can put that together and see what we get.
I mean, I don't know, because if I was really trying to cover my butt on my suggestion, I would have already done that. I haven't done it. I just want to see what it would look like if we did.
That is something, some paperwork you would like to see. Is there anything else to be discussed on the general fund budget? If not, we will go to item 3, discussion regarding the 2013-14 fiscal year City of Van Alstyne Enterprise Fund budget. Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 3.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, let's see, we can move into the enterprise fund and your questions. Department heads, you're welcome to stay.
Can I back up 1 minute?
You're welcome.
In reading the Van Alstyne leader, I came across the fact that Westminster Fire Department is selling a water tanker and a staff vehicle to pay for their new septic system. Can we consider seeing what the costs are, and instead of purchasing all new for the city, that we consider a used?
Actually, the member, if you read in there, one of the members works here. And I had talked to him about those vehicles, and he said they're getting rid of them because they don't run at all.
Oh, okay.
They're totally beyond just repair. He said they're horrible. They've been sitting out for years. But in the newspaper article, the way they...
Yeah, that sounds like they're relatively new.
Yes, ma'am, they are. And I asked him, I did ask him.
Okay,
I asked him
good.
which ones they were and which ones, and he's like, oh, they're...
You don't want them, huh? Okay.
He's involved. Okay, then staff vacancies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What's that? All right. Okay, we've made some modifications. There were some, end of last week, there were some emails that moved back and forth between local developer and myself as far as D.R. Horton is concerned. They no longer want any more of the lots that, aside from the ones that they've already purchased, they're going to build out Georgetown. But they're not interested in any more development in Van Alstyne. That takes our number down to, in talking to this developer, I asked him if 70 was still a good number. We were in discussion because we had heard anywhere from 140 down to 70, or down to 80. And I thought 70 was a good conservative number. And based on this year. And he said that 70 to 50 was a good number. What he did reinforce was, he said it's a double-edged sword with D.R. Horton being here. He said with D.R. Horton being here, nobody else wants to be here. Because D.R. Horton can do it faster, better, and cheaper than anybody else. They refine the process of building homes. That's why they're a national commodity. The reason that they pulled back, they have not just pulled back in Van Alstyne, they pulled back throughout, because their share price went from $27 a share to $17. So for them to balance the books, they've had to pull back on home building. again, what that's done for our market, we're still endorsed. We're still endorsed that Van Alstyne is ready for development. But since D.R. Horton is pulling back, that means that other developers that do not like to compete with D.R. Horton, that do not want to compete with D.R. Horton, will become, according to this developer. In that event, we modified the rate and pulled the lots back to 45. I would love for 70 to still be a great number, and I'd love for the appreciation fund to be larger than what it is. Keeping the percentages from what they were, we tweaked the rate, but we mainly made the difference up in the depreciation fund. So instead of it being 150,000, it's now 94,500 with 45 lots. I want to hear some good news. I want to get some good news, but I do not want to paint the rosy picture that we weren't past Friday, because Friday was kind of an oh my goodness type email back and forth. The developers are still moving forward on their plans to develop out properties in and around Van Alstyne. But as far as home builders, nobody's been named that's going to fill that slot. It's all anticipation.
So what did you say, the depreciation, you're moving it from 150,000 to what?
Whatever it was in your last handout,
I think
which
it's
was 150 or 180, something
What's
like
that? I
that.
can't see.
94.5 is what that says.
94.5 is the depreciation fund now. Keeping the percentages at 7, 9, and then 19% at 10,000 gallons. Welcome to, open to suggestions. We can make modifications and we can move things around. But until we hear of who's going to fill that slot for D.R. Horton, 45 is our number, because that's roughly what's left.
So they're not going to do anything other than just the lots that are already available?
The lots that they purchased in Georgetown.
The new addition and the new addition and the new addition are not.
Did they not purchase that land? I thought they had purchased that land.
They purchased that land and then they got into my understanding, they got into a contract with a developer, because D.R. Horton is, one of the things for them to balance their sheet was, and for them to make a profit was, they're not in the development business, they're in the home building business. And so developing was not really working out for them. So they're working with people that's their forte, to develop the property and then they purchase the lands and do what they do best.
So all the property down Kelly Lane is essentially sold by D.R. Horton.
Other developers are putting it under contract. But the only thing that's heard a lot of good talk the last couple of days, but all it is right now is talk.
Have you visited with the schools? Did you look at this, we talked about the schools and their meter size, and you said that Dr. Stevens said they need to do some of the meter sizes.
And Steve's back from training, so we're going to get with Dr. Stevens and have you ordered. Okay. What size did you ensure? What inch cord? Mentioned a quarter to 1 inch, and that's nominal. But the thing about it is, with the demand of the schools, admin's probably one of the few places that they're able to downsize that, and maybe their facilities barn.
Have we looked at what this rates will do to their?
We'd send it, I'd send it with a spreadsheet.
Okay. And the feedback on that was?
We won't meet.
Okay.
So that's the main thing.
And what about the large apartment complexes? Are those single metered or are they? Single.
Depending on which one. So,
Okay, have we looked at those rates and what those are going to be?
No, we haven't got the property owners of the apartments.
How many apartments do we have? 5?
Hackberry,
11 single meters. So it's 2 at Hackberry, 1 at Windscape, 1
government housing that they have out here, that fourplex?
Yes, that's one. The same for the
And
one
there's one
at,
down, isn't there another one down here, so that's
down here on
7.
Van Alstyne Parkway, and then also on, not only in Fielder, those are on 1 meter. With a,
So that's 7. Anything changed before?
What changed it? Well, their stock went down. And the bouncer said they pulled back. They went from $27 a share to 17. And so their big announcement was that they're going to pull back operations to get their balance sheet in order. So it's not just us, it's throughout the country. But
It has generated the other developers' excitement to build in Van Alstyne without DR Horton, I will say that.
It's like a grilled seesaw. It's good, but it's not good, but it is good, but it isn't good.
I think it's good in the sense that we're gonna get Georgetown built out.
they are.
That's good.
But the other phases, they're not, currently, they're not interested in. So they see, the only name that was thrown out to me was Lenore, but they're in contact with several builders that you're gonna see. They said it'd be like other cities. Wiley that became a DR Horton community, and if you go through Wiley, through the newer part of Wiley, it's all DR Horton community if you look at the plate. But if you look at other communities that DR Horton did not infiltrate, then you'll have Lenore, you'll have Michael, whatever his name is. They're throwing out different names, but the only name that was really that I heard that they said was getting on board was Lenore. But what I'm getting at is this will break our momentum, and so that's why the numbers will go back to 45.
I'm not building, but, yeah, am I right in that deal, especially entry level?
No, they've got some pretty large subdivisions in McKinney and
I'm
Frisco.
talking about here in Van Alstyne.
They would be the upper end of entry level.
But still entry level, but
Yeah, they're nicer than the entry level you find in Anna.
upper end.
The DR Horton and the homes that have been built in here. It's real questionable as far as what you would really consider entry level. It's priced out of the market of the average entry level house, but they're definitely a lot nicer than, your average entry level home.
Yeah, above average entry level. Okay, is there any more discussion on the enterprise fund budget? If there,
These figures frame for what you in this budget.
Thank you for sending that.
Which part?
Well, this, so that I can read it.
Okay.
You can't see that from here.
Well,
we can't see it.
I mean, I didn't bring my binoculars, but aside from that.
the first time it locked out for whatever reason, and then the second time it opened up, so.
This one says your depreciation, what, 94,000?
94,500.
94,000.
That's reflected in your summary sheet. The water and sewer has a surplus of 94,500.
Can you send us this copy?
Sure.
I knew this. I knew this. Well, she has a very good point. When you have this light on, it's really a glare from here to see that. I don't mean we need to sit in the dark, but that's much better to read. Thank you. Well, yeah, even better.
Even
Forget it. I read it, it went away.
We didn't, we tried to keep the percent increase the same, so that's why we reduced, you know, it was, I guess, in the best interest of the city to reduce those number of lots, but then we reduced the depreciation so that we keep that percent of increase the same.
So,
Would it be?
with,
Go ahead.
with that depreciation, are we talking about that $60,000 that being in there now?
What we will
When
do,
we come out of that,
we're pursuing, right now, we're pursuing the loan. If we
Okay.
get the loan, what we'll need to do is either come back for a budget amendment, do we want to take it out of depreciation?
okay,
Or do we want to do something else?
okay.
Or do you want to make a rate adjustment? Because what we'll end up doing is putting it in as a line item and plugging it in and seeing how y'all want to adjust it. So we can keep the percentage increase the same or we can change the rate.
Can you see it both ways?
What's that mean?
Can you see it both ways?
Do half and half? If you want to do a percentage increase and take the depreciation down.
I'm
to
just
60.
talking about ways for us to look, the different ways for us to look at it. One, yeah, one, both ways.
Sure.
Along with the other paperwork that you will be providing as funding.
Well, I mean, we're not doing that right now. That'll be in December.
Oh,
So
okay.
when we close on the loan is when we'll be sending that out. What decision do y'all want to make? Should we, because all we're doing now is pursuing the loan. We're not committed to the loan. We're just pursuing it if we get it. So if we get the loan, then we'll come back, how do y'all want to act? And that'll require a budget.
Okay, are there any more discussion on the enterprise fund budget? Councilman Moore, do you have any more?
I don't think so.
Councilman Flake,
No, thank you.
Councilman Jennings.
I want to look at the street maintenance repair real quick. I'm smiling when I just do what? What's that figure? I didn't look at it. I think we were at 110,000 last week.
Yeah, we didn't change that
We went
number.
up 7,000.
Okay, what is that accounting number? Line?
580.
Well, just the tax portion went up 7,000.
Yeah.
The street maintenance stayed the same.
Yeah,
So you got the 110,000, but down where we talked about changing the sales tax, 10,580, that doesn't have a number down the last line, went from 90 to 97,589.32.
So there's nobody in the street department now? Good.
Well, if we're working with the county to contract that out, and they can do potholes cheaper and faster than we can, and we don't have personnel available necessarily.
Okay.
And to do the streets as well. I mean, it only makes sense for us to get the most bang for our buck.
Any further discussion? Yes, Councilman Jennings. No. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll go to item 4. Is there a motion that we adjourn? Councilman Smith, is there a second? Councilman Miller? The rest of us. All those in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. We are adjourned at 8:22.
Thank you, Mayor.
This must be a record meeting.
That's the budget.
My husband's gonna fight.
That's because we're
Just goes to bed, leave his lunch on for TV going. He's sitting up in his truck.
Now, was she the one that
I did. Put them all in there, same way. Thank you.
This her number? Is this her number? I thought it was her, but I wasn't
Sometime I have red hands. I'll pick it, I'll call it. Oh, we're going
Oh,
to.
that's here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Says
Maybe
Kelly.
I'll bring it there.
Bring
Oh,
it.
what, that's Kelly Prowl then?
Oh, gives me a schedule.
Speaking of,
Since I'm a foot, I got a schedule. Well, you know where my mailbox is? Okay, you know where my house is? Oh, no, it's not a post office, it's an old mailbox, it's a gray one. You come to the back door, and beside the door, there's a mailbox there. You just fold it in half and stick it in. Nobody ever bought it. Okay.
Y'all get that?
I'll try again. I will.
Thank you. I'm with you. Oh, it's getting heavier. I have to buy it.